Another one of my favorite quotes. A society has no chance of success if its women are uneducated, Layla. No chance. Layla's father, Bobby, is explaining the Soviet occupation to her. The Soviets fired him from his job as a professor, and while Bobby disagrees with the majority of their ideas, he approves the Soviets are enforcing female education. Layla internalizes her father's passion towards attending school. The importance of receiving an education is something that keeps her motivated throughout the novel. Approximately 17.4 million of the 36 million people in Afghanistan are female. Bobby understands that if half the population is uneducated, the majority of Afghanistan's, and even the world's problems will go unsolved. If a country cannot solve its problems, it will not progress, and it may even collapse. Which is why I have a picture of the Afghanistan flag with a band-aid over it, showing that when women are given the access to education, they can help heal a country. Bobby knows that his daughter receiving an education will allow her to be informed on the issues in the world, giving her the knowledge for her to make her own decisions. Bobby's quote emphasizes the power of education because it shows that the success of a country is based entirely on the population of educated women. It enforces the idea that when given the power to, women can make important decisions that will benefit their community. For example, educated women often choose to give back to their community by becoming teachers so that they can open the minds of future generations. Girls are forbidden from attending school. All schools for girls will be closed immediately. This line is said during the Taliban's radio broadcast, shortly after the militant group seizes Kabul. Before the Taliban, Kabul was ruled by Ahmad Shah Massoud's government. Life under Massoud's reign was challenging and oppressive for both Miriam and Layla. However, from the Taliban statement, the two women know that their lives will not be improving. So I wanted to include some historical context because this quote involved the Taliban, so having that historical context kind of gives you a deeper understanding of what essentially is going on at this point in time in the book. So between the years 1996 and 2001, the Taliban controlled approximately 3/4 of Afghanistan. They promised to restore peace and security by enforcing their version of Sharia, Islamic law. The following points are just repetition from the earlier slide explaining Sharia law. And in 2001, anti-Taliban armies forced the group out of Kabul. However, the Taliban are still active in 70% of Afghanistan, controlling 4% of the country. I also want to mention that the wearing of the burqa is not oppressive because oftentimes many Muslim women choose to wear a burqa. It is the enforcing of wearing a burqa that is oppressive because it takes away the woman's right to choose whether or not she wears that garment of clothing. The Taliban is a patriarchal society because they see women as subservient to men. Through their sexist laws, the Taliban were able to limit the amount of freedom a woman had over her own decisions, as most decisions were made by her husband or her father or any other man in the household. The Taliban prohibit girls from going to school because it would allow them to think independently and make decisions that will benefit themselves. So I have a fun little hammer smashing the patriarchy because that's what we want to do. Patriarchy is a horrible thing, and you can see how it literally ruined the lives of all those women in Afghanistan. The importance of education for women is emphasized because even though the Taliban are a very powerful military group, they know that a woman is powerful, but when she gets an education, she becomes even more powerful. Because of this, the Taliban fear that attending school will give women the information, confidence, and power to decide to revolt against their tyrannical rule. Okay, so this is a more hopeful quote. Layla hears of schools being built in Kabul, and women returning to work, and her life in Marine, pleasant as it is, seems insufficient to her. Worse yet, wasteful. She has started hearing Babby's voice in her head. "You can be anything you want, Layla," he says. "I know this about you. And I know that when the war is over, Afghanistan is going to need you." This quote marks Layla's decision-making process to return to Kabul. Around a year ago, she escaped to Muri, Pakistan with Tariq and her children. She is finally at peace. However, she realizes that her education is going to waste, and that she can give back to her community by returning and becoming a teacher. Layla's education allows her to be anything she wants. It has given her the power to decide who she wants to be. Layla's past education has given her the problem-solving and decision-making skills to weigh the pros and cons of her possible options, allowing her to make the best choice. Like Bobby said, Afghanistan will need Layla. The protagonist knows that she is educated enough to improve the lives of those in Kabul by becoming a teacher. The knowledge that Layla can share with the younger generation will open their minds and give them the confidence and power to have autonomism over their decisions. Okay, so I have a double shot of quotes coming up for you. Help show the difference between before Layla becomes a teacher and after she becomes a teacher. So, before Layla begins teaching at the orphanage, Miriam and Layla pass through poorly lit hallways where barefoot children step aside and watch. They have disheveled hair or shaved scalps. The children all look at the orphanage master, Layla thought, in hope of approval. Context. So Layla and Miriam are dropping off Layla's daughter Aziza at an orphanage because they can no longer afford to take care of her. The orphanage appears to be in disarray, and the children are dirty and unhappy. After Layla becomes a teacher at the orphanage. When the children spot Layla, they come running. There is a flurry of high-pitched greetings, of shrill voices, of patting, clutching, hugging, groping, of jostling with one another to climb into her arms. So my next discussion question is, how has the behavior of the children changed? And how do you think Layla's presence has incited this change? The Taliban's occupation of Kabul has ended. Layla has since become a teacher at the orphanage that once caused her so much grief. She remembers running down this hallway holding back a howl. Today, the orphanage is a happy place where children are excited to learn, and Layla is excited to teach them. Connection to theme. So this connection kind of answers the previous discussion question. The power of education is emphasized in this scene because the once disheveled and needy children are now joyful and confident due to Layla's presence as a teacher. Layla is teaching her students to learn from their mistakes and how to problem solve. This will allow the children the ability to solve their own problems independently and eventually issues within the world or the community. As mentioned before, Layla's decision to return to Kabul was entirely her own. The positive change in her students shows the beneficial impact her choices can have on her community. So here's a real-life connection that most of you probably know. Malala Yousafzai. Malala was 11 years old when the Taliban invaded her village of Swat Valley to Pakistan. The Taliban prohibited her from attending school, so she spoke out against them. Malala's outrage made her a target, and when she was only 14, the Taliban tried, and failed, to assassinate her. Despite the danger, she continues to fight for female education, and she will not stop until every girl has a chance to go to school. Aged just 18, she won a Nobel Prize for her actions. Conclusion. By showing the poverty and misery that Nana and Marion live in, Hosseini effectively emphasizes the lack of opportunities available to uneducated women. In patriarchal societies like Sharia law Afghanistan, women's education is not seen as a priority. Instead, women are expected to marry and have children, specifically sons. Educated women have the knowledge and confidence to make their own decisions that can improve their community. This is seen in Layla choosing to return to Kabul to become a teacher, and the education that she provides to her students makes them happier and more confident. Education for women in developing countries remains an issue, but due to the efforts of activists like Malala, opportunities are continuing to open up for disadvantaged girls. And here's my final discussion question. What are some ways that we, as a developed society, can increase the number of educated women in developing countries? So let's just end this presentation on a really hopeful note. This video of Rabia shows the positive effect education has on girls and subsequently their community. So again, because this isn't a real presentation, I can't open up the link, but I will send the file to you so you can open up the link and watch the video for yourself. Thank you for listening to my presentation.